Sham Ghareeban. Tonight we approach the night where Abdullah is no longer there to protect his Zainab, where Abbas is no longer there to look after Sakina. Now Layla has lost her Akbar, Farwa has lost her Qasim. We have reached the night of ghurba, the night of darkness. We have reached the night of Sham Ghareeban. When Abu Abdullah was still alive, there was a moment after he fell from his horse where he lay perfectly still on the sands of Karbala. The armies of Yazid did not know, is Hussein alive or has he left this world already? One man calls out, if you want to know if the son of Ali is still alive, then go towards the tents of Zainab. As Hussein hears the name of Zainab, with the last remaining ounces of energy left in his body, he gets up on his knees. He calls out, while Hussein is still alive, I will not let anybody reach the tents. But Ya Abu Abdullah, your promise stayed true. They did not reach the tents in your lifetime. But as soon as Hussein leaves this world, what happens? One section of the army rushes to the tents. They begin setting fire to the tents one by one. They chase after the women and the children with spears in their hands, trying to reach their rida, their chadar, their hijab. Tent to the other. The next tent is satellite. The women rush out and into the next tent. They rush from tent to tent till the point where there is only one tent left. All the women are gathered. Karbala's ground is shaking as the horses advance towards that tent. Zainab turns to Sayyid al-Sajjad. She says, my Sajjad, tell me in this moment, should we stay in the tent and protect our hijab, or should we save our lives and leave the tent? Sayyid al-Sajjad says, my auntie Zainab, to save your life is wajib above all. The women and children are ushered out of the tent, but what can Sajjad do? He has been ill for over 10 days. He can only walk with the help of someone taking him. So what does Zainab do? When Hussein went to bring back the body of Akbar, he wrapped Akbar's 2 hands around his neck and dragged him back to the tents. Now, Zainab wraps Sajjad's 2 arms around her shoulders. She drags him out of the tent. Zainab's only point here is to keep her Imam alive. Sayyid al-Sajjad is brought out of the tent. The narrators write that when the women and children came running out of that final tent, they did not stay together as they had done the whole time. The narrators write, the way when a tasbih is broken and the beads scatter, the women and children scattered all over Karbala. Zainab went and one by one, she gathered the women and the children. One by one, she brings them back together. But oh, Azadaran Hussein, this was just one section of Yazid's army which went towards the tents. What did the rest of the army do? We find in the narrations that the rest of the army split in 2 directions. One part of the army went towards the river Furat. A man, when he goes for ziyarah in Karbala, he returns to his hometown afterwards. He goes to his local scholar. He says to his scholar, I have a question for you. There is something I did not understand when I went to visit the graves in Karbala. He says to the alim, I've always heard since I was a young child that Abul Fadl Abbas was very tall in stature. But when I went to his grave, I saw a small grave like that of a child. Why? One section of the army in that moment, they go towards the Furat, where Abbas's body lays by the riverbanks. They draw their swords. They begin cutting the body of Abbas, piece by piece. The third section of the army, they go to the body of Abu Abdullah. They begin looting and plundering, taking what they can. It is narrated that when everything had been taken from the body of Abu Abdullah, one man in the darkness of the night, he approaches the body of Hussein, looking to see if there is anything he can steal. To his surprise, there is one thing left. To his surprise, there is one last thing remaining. What is it? He sees a ring shining on the finger of Hussein. He wonders to himself, when they have taken everything from Hussein, why has nobody taken this ring? In that moment, what does he do? He goes to pull the ring from the finger of Abu Abdullah. But Hussein's finger has been cut and bruised so much over the day. He realizes nobody took the ring. Why? Because when he tried to pull the ring, he couldn't get it off of Hussein's finger. So what does he do? He draws a small dagger. He begins striking at the finger of Hussein. He cannot take the ring alone, so he takes the whole finger of my Mawla. Those scattered women and children all over the plains of Karbala, rushing from place to place. As Zainab had gathered them, she realized something. She looked around from left to right. She looked between all the women, between all the children. She then turns to Bibi Rabab and Kulthum. She looks at them and says, "Tell me, has any of you seen my Sakina? Where has Sakina gone?" They could not find the darling daughter of Hussein. In his final moments, Hussein said to Zainab, "Zainab, look after my Sakina." Here on this first night, Sayyidah Zainab could not find Sakina. She turns to the women, she says, "Kulthum, Kulthum, you go in one direction, try and find Sakina. I will go in another direction." Bibi Kulthum, which direction does she go in? She heads towards where Abbas's body lays. Maybe Sakina went to her uncle Abbas. Zainab heads out into the battlefield, calling out, "Sakina, where are you?" She hears a call. She hears a cry. What does it say? It says, "Zainab, my sister, quiet. Do not shout as you do." Why? My Sakina has finally fallen asleep. As she searches through the battlefield, Zainab sees Sakina lying on the chest of a shaheed. She approaches that. She approaches that body. She picks up her Sakina. She says, "Sakina, let me take you back. Let me take you to your mother. Everybody is very worried. Sakina, tell me, why did you come out here into the battlefield?" Sakina looks up at her auntie Zainab. She replies, "My auntie Zainab, when they came to attack our tents, I went running. I went looking for my father. I went looking and I found him. I went to sleep on his chest." Zainab, she looks at Sakina then looks back at the body that Sakina was lying on. Back to Sakina again. Again she looks back to the body. She says, Sakina, tell me, what made you think that this is the body of your father? This body could have been anybody. Why does Zainab say this? Because this body, if anybody is deceased, you can identify them in two ways. Either the clothes they are wearing or the face that they bear. But Hussein's head has been cut off. The clothes have been taken. Sakina, how did you know to come to this body? Sakina says, as I stumbled through the battlefield, I heard a cry from this body. Ilayya, Ilayya. Sakina, come to me. Sakina, come to me. Sakina is taken back to where the women and children are. At some point in the night, somebody feeling pity over the family of the Ahlul Bayt, they bring some water to the families of the Shuhada. The water is handed from person to person, but nobody drinks it. Why? They all say the same thing. Give the water to the youngest one first. Bibi Sakina is given water to drink. She takes the water, turns towards the battlefield, and once again begins walking away. She is called back by Sayyida Zainab. Sakina, what are you doing? Where are you going? Sakina looks at her Auntie Zainab. My Auntie Zainab, you said the youngest will drink first. Do you not know my Asghar is still thirsty? The last line of Masa'ib. The last line of Masa'ib that I will recite. At some point, water is given to Sayyida Zainab. But Sayyida Zainab will not drink the water. Again and again she repeats, my Hussein died thirsty. How can I drink water? Zainab is ushered by all the women and children. Take some drink. Have something to drink. Take some water. But Zainab, she says, no, my Hussein died thirsty. How can Zainab drink water? In that moment, I've heard it said that Sayyid al-Sajjad, he comes to his Auntie Zainab. He says, Auntie Zainab, let me show you something. Let me show you something, and maybe you will drink the water then. He tells his Auntie Zainab, look towards the sky. I will show you the scene. He says, look towards the sky. Zainab looks up. What does she see? Sayyid al-Sajjad. He shows her the scene of Hawz-e Kawthar, the fountain of Kawthar. Hussein stands there, surrounded by Rasulullah, Ali Murtada, Hassan Mujtaba, Zahra herself. They all give water to Hussein, and Hussein stands there saying, while my Zainab is still thirsty, how can Hussein... على لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون